If you have been watching my winter motorcycle adventure to HangCon down in Central Florida, you would have seen a few hammocks and a few vendors, but one of the people that showed up was Derek from Haven. I was pretty excited to see him there because I have turned into quite a fanboy of the Haven tent. And I got a few minutes to spend with Derek so he could go over some of the features of the Haven, and I got a chance to ask him a few questions, so check it out.
Don, great to be here with you, man. I'm Derek from Haven Tents, and this is the Haven tent. And this is really the first time that I've been able to show people the tent, because we launched in September of 2019 and instantly went into COVID lockdown scenario. And so went to the outdoor retailer show in February of 2020. But other than that, this is the first time that we've been able to really show people the tent in person and do direct conversations about the tent. Everything up to this point has been online, putting it up there, then people buy it and they seem to be happy with it. But here, I've had the unique opportunity of seeing people's response and actually, seeing their faces, light up when they lay in the tent, because it is different. And honestly, I was a little bit nervous because I'm kind of like, this is hammock central, right? So these guys like eat, breathe, obviously sleep hammocks. And so I was a little nervous as upstart with something a little different coming in here. And because it does not feel like a hammock. And for some people in this group, they love the feeling of the cocooning of a hammock. They love that sensation. This is a little different. And I could never sleep in a hammock, which led me to this product. Because when I was laying in a hammock one day, I just visioned my head and my feet on a single plane and then space coming off my shoulders. So I was just floating on an air mattress, which if you look at our product here, that's basically what we have. We have the first hammock that is built for an air mattress, where a lot of people will put an air mattress in their tent, but it's almost like it's an afterthought. Or sorry, they'll put an air mattress in their hammock, but it's almost an afterthought, right? It's like, oh, let me see if I can fit this in there, and it's moving around and stuff. So this is built around the sleeping platform. This is the XL. I have the standard over there, which is where guys like me sleep. The giant here, Moto Giant himself, Don, he's built for the XL. Well, I'd say he's pushing the limits, but this is the XL, and you end up being totally flat. For somebody with my frame that's a little smaller, it starts to bow a little bit, which is why I like the standard. But for bigger frames, they're able to hold the space open, and that helps keep it flat. But sleep on your back, your side, your stomach. This is the Haven tent right here.
It's kind of looks a little bit unreal.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, like, that's not a hammock.
What's so cool is we've had people of every size and shape, get in there over this deal, and everybody just lays flat. There's some adjustment. You want your weight to be right here in the center so that your hips are right here in the center of the suspension bridge. If you take a look from this side over here, Don, you'll see that it bows upwards, right? So a typical hammock sags to begin with, and then you get in it and it sags even further. Most bridge hammocks start out flat. Then when you get in it, it bows slightly down. So there's still a little bit of a sag. This arches up so that when the sag happens, then you're level. So that's kind of what, and the XL does it more so than the standard over there. The standard, it didn't have to do it as much because it's not as wide or as long. The XL, I had to put a ton of arc in there to make it lay flat.
I would think that a lot of people react negatively when they first see that. Does that happen a lot? People are concerned?
You mean with the arc? Honestly, people get it. Like, they see it as a, oh, well, this is different, this makes sense. And then, especially people that have been in a hammock that understand, the potential to sag. They think, okay, yeah, I think I know what's going on there. So nobody's been freaked out by it. But it definitely, I mean, when you look around, it looks different, right? Most hammocks are doing that over there. Right. And so this is, the fact that it bows up is a little bit counterintuitive.
So tell me about the development, because I'm really curious about the engineering and how many iterations you had to go through to get the rigidity, because I noticed there's all kinds of structural elements in here that
right.
I think if you snip any one of those things, because I set mine up, this is the third time I set it up Thursday night,
I noticed I couldn't put the thing together, and then I realized I got the end twisted, and
Yeah.
it just absolutely
Yeah.
I go there. I said, what am I doing wrong here? It just took me a second to go, oh, I twisted the So
Right. So I have a background in health and wellness product sales, and so very different from product design and product building, engineering. But I've always been a bit of a tinkerer. I've loved to make and design things, and so when I had this idea, let me think about it for a minute, and I thought about it for months and kind of sketched out some things in my head that I thought might work, and then I got tarps from Home Depot and I cut them into the shapes that I wanted and gave them to my sister's cousin who makes baby blankets on Etsy. So she does some sewing. She's like the only person I knew how to sew. I said, hey, go ahead and cut the material according to these shapes and piece this thing together. And she did a great job. Honestly, we're here today because she did a really good job with her prototype, because my second and third and fourth prototypes were a step backwards. We almost we definitely got lucky on the first prototype. I mean, I filed on my patent based on the first prototype, not the second and the third and the fourth, because it was closer to what we kind of wanted. And so the idea is, and this is what we figured out in the end, was that more material at the end cap creating the sag, less material here in the center creating this arch. And yeah, there are a few structural elements. We have this this nylon strap that comes down both sides. The patent marks these as support arcs that come down from the side. They all gather and unite with the structural ridge line, which means that hang angle, with a traditional gathered end hammock, you're having to find the trees like you did in your video. These are my trees because I know that these trees are the perfect width apart for my setup. Well, trees don't necessarily agree with us most times, right? So trees are going to do what trees do, which is have that randomness. And so being able to either pull flat like this, you'll see that the hammock shape never changes. This is about, you can get a little bit lower, but then eventually the ridge line starts to sag, and then it becomes less and less effective as a structural device. But let's back up here. Yeah, so it took a lot to get to this first standard. And I remember the day that I put a pad in it, because before I actually had spreader bar here, and then I had two lines going out that way to kind of help hold the space open. And then I put a pad in there. I was like, oh yeah, the pad works great. And then we started to build around the pad at that point. Figured out how to put the spreader bars up here because it created so much more space around your shoulders. You'll see when it's not there. It still works, but it's a little, it ends up being a little tight.
Like a regular hammock.
Yeah. With the shoulder, a little bit of shoulder squeeze here and there. Yeah. But I mean, this for me is like my bed at home now. I got the Zen bivy set up, which is awesome. And yeah, another thing. So I made a list of things that were good from tent camping, things that were good from hammock camping. And one of the things that was good from tent camping was just how easy it was to store your stuff, right? Just putting stuff in your tent or whatever was so convenient. So I actually typically hang my pack when I'm, other than my food I keep outside in the trees or whatever. But I hang the pack from here and then set the end of the pack right there. And so your entire setup is inside the waterproof shell. Nothing's on the ground to get invaded by critters or rained on or wet. My saddle, if I'm on a horse packing trip, I'll sit underneath the hammock so it stays dry too. But other than that, you're able to put everything. We got 6 huge pockets around there. They're transparent, so you can put your phone in one and watch a show at night. You can hang things, like I said, from the ridge line. I have the ridge light here, which you'll have to come back at night, Don, and see this thing lit up because it's glorious. But what else? Oh yeah, another thing is just the simplicity of attachment points. One of the things that I struggled with, and I watched other people struggling with, was the number of connection points that a hammock system needed. It was never just, okay, one point. Like you said, it took you a few hours to try to figure out how to best get comfortable in your thing. And to be fair, it took you some time to figure out how to hang this as well. But the idea is that once it's once you figure that out.
Watched the video, it wouldn't have taken me.
True, but the idea here is that it's a system where it's 2 connection points, and you're set, right? So last night I had the red eye to Florida yesterday, and so I was pretty tired. So I went to bed early. So I just let this thing, you know, relax. Typically I would guy it open so there'd be some ventilation and things, but I was lazy, so I just left like that.
It works.
As a bivvy, it works like that. You got some vents there. There was a little bit of condensation because it got so cold last night that there was a little bit of condensation, but nothing on the pack. You'll see the pack's completely dry, or the bag is completely dry, and so I'll just keep it open for a couple hours, and that'll dry itself off. So it's been a really fun project. It's what I do now. I'm Haven Tents, and it's been so fun to find excuses to adventure, right? And to test some product, make some content, and meet great people along the way. So Don, it's absolute pleasure. Your review of the Haven Tent was like one of my favorites, and it is. You were so, like, you're just such a kind soul, and it comes through with what you had to say about our tent. So thanks so much.
How about a comparison between a buddy of mine bought the Lawson before I went to Haven, and he saw mine and said, "Man, I should have just waited." But you know, he's sleeping pretty good in his.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I mean, the design is completely different, but I guess the concept is the same. Lay flat. What would you call his?
Well, you know, bridge. There's a ton of bridge hammocks, and I'll get people all the time that on the comments of our posts will say, well, you know, these have been since the Navy used to use bridge hammocks back in the day, and it's true. Right. Bridge hammocks have been around since forever, right. And a lot of companies have great bridge hammocks. Ours is we do things a little different, and some people, you know, might not like the smaller profile rainfly. Some people might not like some elements of ours, and some people like it. So you know, give it a shot.
Would you call this a bridge hammock?
Yeah, this is a bridge hammock. Okay. This would fit into the bridge hammock category because it hangs so low and it has these, you know, spreader bars to help keep the space open. But a lot of times, if you look over there at that bridge hammock, I don't know if you'll be able to see it with the GoPro. You'll see it goes from the suspension to the spreader bar to the hammock. We go from the suspension to the hammock, and the spreader bar is internal. So it's a little bit of a different setup, but all of those elements are still there. And so, yeah.
I did notice that his is pretty unstable.
Right.
So he gets in, and you know, a couple of people got in it, and it looked like they almost fell out. This is not unstable.
Yeah, so we accomplished this by putting the suspension points above the spreader bars, right? So the higher the suspension, the connection points are to the sleeping platform, the more stable it's going to be. You're never going to tip a Haven tent. I mean, you couldn't. It's like trying to push around the swings. Like, as much as we dreamt of doing that as kids, you're just too far to actually swing around the swings. And so that's the same concept. I mean, it'll go from side to side. It might move out from under you if you're not holding on to it when you're first sitting, but it's never going to tip. And that's just one of the features of one of the byproducts of design. It wasn't necessarily one of like what we were trying to do. Right. It's just what happened.
Oops,
as we were whoops, you don't fall out. Hey, you don't fall out either. Yeah. But that also let us make really low sidewalls, and so it becomes a comfortable seat as well, and it doesn't obstruct your view. You know, in a typical hammock, you either have to look left or right, and that's all you can see, and it's typically just a little, you know, sliver underneath your rainfly. With this, so I slept with it down because lights were on and people were going crazy. They were drinking moonshine there. But you never
know what you're gonna get.
You don't know what you're gonna get. But you know, this morning it was just one motion, and I'm completely now a part of HangCon again. You know, and that's cool. We spend so much effort to get to these beautiful places, then we end up hiding from them. Right. So this way you can interact. You know, in most days I would just roll up the rainfly. I'd sleep out under the stars and reach up and open it with one hand, and you're in nature again.
Yeah, I was impressed a couple times sleeping. So what I've been doing is either tying off to the other side and leaving this untied, or maybe guying this side out so you can have more like a regular fly.
Yep.
But yeah, I was really impressed rain-wise, because I pulled this thing out. I was like, this is not gonna work. And a couple days later, I got a big rainstorm. So, wow. I think if I would just pulled the fly a little bit tighter, I wouldn't have got anything down here. But even down here, you've got moisture protection.
So the hammock body has the same waterproofing as the Rainfly, 4,000 millimeters of waterproofing. So super waterproof. And my idea around that came from a bivy tent. You know, those little bivvies that you're in. You know, it's just the bare minimum, right? And you end up staying dry until you have to get out, because now you're crawling through the wet grass or whatever. But with this, it's the same concept. When it's locked down, I call it, which is when your Rainfly is, you know, locked in like this, or even we have a center hook where it hooks down as well, which is what I used last night, right? When it's, sorry, you can get closer like that.
That's easy to unhook from the inside.
Easy to unhook from the inside and from the outside. So when it's locked in like this, you know, come wind or whatever's gonna happen, you're gonna stay dry, because it you know, this pressure keeps it locked in. I mean, it might billow a little. You might hear some you know, some I guess rattling of the fly, but that's to be expected.
Let's talk about the ground, because that's what fascinated me. I think that's what drew me to this.
Yeah, the ability to go to ground.
I mean,
That was another byproduct of the design as well. You know, I was sitting there in the basement doing some product testing, and I just got these lower and lower and lower. I thought, oh my goodness, look, if you can put that thing on the ground and it becomes just the typical Boy Scout A-frame with a ridge tent with the thing coming off. And so, yeah, having that flexibility. So this is the standard, and it's all 70D, which is a really thick, you know, material. Over here, we have a blend of sil poly. We still use 70D for the bottom cap for the XL. But the idea is, if you go to ground, you have something a little stronger there. 40D for the sidewalls, because that's gonna hold your weight and everything. And then it's only 20D for the Rainfly. And so this is a combination of materials to try to reduce weight with the larger size.
It was pretty awesome having access to Derek at HangCon, and I asked him a few questions about his product, and he gave me some details about a new model that's coming out, I believe in the spring, and he even said I would get a crack at a first review. Hopefully that'll be coming up soon. So far what he's told me is exactly what I'm looking for, so I wished I would have had more chance to interview some of the manufacturers, but they were a little bit underrepresented at this festival. I think this is a great opportunity. It's like a trade show opportunity, with a great venue and happy people that are hanging in the woods eating great food. I'm just kind of surprised there weren't more people out there showing off their products, but maybe that'll happen next year. Stay tuned for the more interviews I've got coming up, and if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do. Hit that notification bell too, so you get an email or something when I put out a new video. See you soon.